Hey, Freedom Builders, welcome. Welcome to your weekly coaching call. I am your coach, Rolando Galeana. And as you know, we are going to take questions for the next hour. Any questions you might have related to getting started with selling on Amazon, and beyond. I can field most any question you have as it comes to e-commerce. And let's go ahead and let me just make sure everything is running properly here. As you know, last week we were off, but we are back at it. And let me take a look and see if I am streaming. Let me know if you can hear me. Just drop a thumbs up if you can. I do see that we have some questions already coming through. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Is everyone having a good week? I hope so. Let's go ahead and it looks like Jason has the first question. And let me go ahead and just kind of organize my screens here. Perfect. It looks like everything is up and running. So let's go ahead and Jason asks, what is the current situation with buying and importing from China? I have heard of long delays, up to 5 months, and considerable increases in costs for shipping, etc. Also, many manufacturers that have been sourced in the past are currently offline now, not taking orders. What info do you have as to the current situation for those who are considering placing orders now? Great question. And to answer, I would say yes, there are long delays, as you know, with the pandemic and weather issues and just delays at the port, congestion. So all of that mixed in has definitely caused longer delays and just more in advance planning that will be required on our end. But the way I look at it is we can always turn everything into an opportunity, right? As you can imagine, someone that sees the delays may run out of stock, and if your product is in stock, you'll be able to capitalize on those moments, right? So there's for every how do I phrase it? For every disadvantage, there's an opportunity. So that's just the mindset of an entrepreneur. You always want to have that in mind. You always want to keep that present, right? So when the pandemic first hit, that caught us all off guard. And now we kind of know, right, that there's delays. Now we know that this is not going away anytime soon. So how do we prepare? The time is now to answer your question now, not until this passes, because we don't know. We were thinking that this would be like long gone at the start of this year. And then we find out that no, it's not. It's only on the rise in certain regions, certain areas, including China. And that's why you have some ports that have had to shut down. And so that causes more delays. But this isn't a sprint. This is a marathon. So the more that you can do now and the more that you can prepare, have a plan B, plan C, the better equipped you will be, because this is, like I said, there is an opportunity in the pandemic. During the pandemic, Amazon since has just soared by leaps and bounds. People have switched from going to brick and mortar businesses to buying online. The switch is just was exponential. So that's why I say when there's hardships, there's always opportunity in those hardships. And so it's just a matter of just a little more planning, a little more advanced planning, and not waiting. I always say that's always the fear, is that someone might fall into analysis paralysis. There are still suppliers, even though some may have shut down because of, in some cases, there might have been, as I mentioned, a rise in COVID counts. And so they've had to shut down. Some businesses didn't weather the storm as well. And so that's where it just requires just kind of like the ability to navigate this new system, this new economy that we're currently experiencing. Spending has not gone down, which is oddly odd enough, right? But so then just kind of like you got to meet that demand, and that's like our goal as entrepreneurs is to meet that demand. And that's kind of a long-winded way of saying it, but there was the best time to start selling on Amazon was yesterday. The second best time is now. So let's see here. Fabiana asks, hi guys, reviews in JS extension are now under rating number. Let's see here. I'm trying to just figure out what you're referring to here. And probably if you could elaborate a little bit on that, I'm not sure if I follow, Fabiana. But let's go ahead and see if I can understand what you're saying here real quick. Oh, okay. I guess you're referring to the extension. If yes, the rating number is the number of product reviews for the listing. So yes. So that should answer that. Lisa, when product lands in the US port, are we contacted to pay duties, or does the freight forwarder handle these costs included? Just confused on this process. Okay, yes. So your freight forwarder will add it to, I guess you could say, your invoice. You will obviously pay for it. However, they will add to your invoice. Some freight forwarders will contact you for payment immediately. Others, they will just kind of invoice you and you just pay it as soon as possible. But some might not advance until it's paid. So as soon as if you do get notified by your freight forwarder, they usually shoot you an email and you could just go ahead and pay off that invoice. But yeah, your freight forwarder will take care end to end from depending on which type of method you're using, correct? So if it's, say for example, FOB means that they're going to take it from the initial port. So let's say China, across to the United States, get across customs, and ultimately to their warehouse. Now they can, for a fee, get it from their warehouse to Amazon's fulfillment centers. Mind you, Amazon, what they're going to do when you create a shipping plan, more than likely it's going to be 2-3 warehouses. They're trying to just kind of spread your inventory throughout the United States if you're selling in the United States. So you might have some that will go to Texas, a portion of your supplies or your inventory will go to New York, and maybe another portion to like Chicago, let's say, hypothetically speaking. So the best way to handle this is have your freight forwarder ship it up to the point of like their warehouse. So because what they're going to do is they're going to palletize it. They're going to get it all set up for shipping to Amazon, right? They're going to apply the labels that the pallet labels that indicate to which warehouse they're going to be shipped to. And so then the goal there is to use Amazon's partner carrier program, as Amazon's partner carrier program has really reduced rates with some of the main shipping companies like UPS or FedEx, whatever, they'll determine which company, but they're going to get you the best rates. So absolutely. Let's go ahead. So these are the questions that were pre-submitted. Let me go in live now. Looks like we got a few questions rolling in, which is always great. Definitely want to take advantage of this time. And for those that are new, just a heads up, we do weekly coaching calls. Originally, these were held monthly. but there was a need, and by request, you asked for it, so we've provided it to give you weekly coaching. And so sometimes it'll be me, sometimes it'll be me and other Jungle Scout teammates. So let's see. Inam asks, in multi-pack, how many UPCs do you need? It's not a variation listing. So in a multi-pack, if it's already pre-packaged and you're not they're not like separate pieces, units, then it would just be one UPC for a multi-pack. Let's see. Inam asks, can you tell me what you do to manage your inventory so you don't run out? If you start to run low on inventory, what do you do personally? Any suggestion regarding inventory? I mean, for me personally, I use Jungle Scout for inventory planning. And so, and then I also use alerts to notify me if, something that I might not catch when my inventory is running low. So those are a few things that that I use. I think, I practically, start my day, grab my cup of coffee, fire up Jungle Scout, fire up Amazon, Seller Central, kind of just look to see if anything major is going on, any fires I need to put out. But for the most part, everything is very hands off until the point where, I have inventory that needs to be pulled in. And like I said, it's just using inventory manager inside of Jungle Scout. That, you set the parameters, and, that kind of keeps it moving for me. Namas, what is your steps for doing a product research, and how do you go about finding another product for your product line? So, if it's a product that I know is doing well, and I'll start by adding variants of that product, testing out different variants. Now, I don't go all in and buy, 10 variants of that one. I'll test out. I'll do tests. I run tests. I don't like to ever go all in on something, just because you don't know your target audience that well until right? So that's why I say that starting with variants is one way to kind of maximize that opportunity, maximize the ability for people to buy, because they might come in and initially they were looking at something that's like blue, but then they decide, I want red, and you don't have that offer, then they're just going to go to the next person. And so that's why I say just variance is the good starting point. And when I start my product research, I'm not committed, and I don't fall in love with a product per se. I've fallen in love with the process, right? Like, I don't get attached to products. And I will just as quickly cut loose a product if I think that it's not going anywhere. I've had that happen, but at the same token, I double down when I see that it is something that is working. And like I said, it'd be by incorporating variants. And when I'm starting product research from scratch, it's once again, I just use the data that's provided, like a data-driven approach for product research through Jungle Scout. And so many of my products don't align at all. They're all over the place. Now, there's a different approach. Some choose to build a brand, and I can't say that one way or the other is the most effective way. Some choose to build out a brand with the end goal of selling that brand. My approach has always been just multiple products based on data-driven results, not on brand building. Not to say that I don't have brands. I have brands, but they're, it's not like all just one product line. And there's not one right or wrong way when it comes to that part. Because I know that I've been asked that before, if it's best to just build a brand, or is it best to have products that don't really match? And neither is wrong, as long as to maximize each opportunity, and know to when when to expand and or maybe even contract on a particular product. Brett asks, "Hi, my first product went live 3.5 weeks ago. Congratulations, Brett. That's that's always awesome. Scary but awesome. Yesterday, for the first time, I saw that my buy box wins was only 83%. Has always been 100% before. What causes this? According to Jungle Scout, there's only one seller on my listing, and I'm selling private label. The buy box, you with private label, you do own the buy box. The only thing that I can see influencing that is that there is someone may have, I don't know if you offered a discount initially, and so someone went in and purchased and was just trying to resell off of your listing. That would be, in your case, since you just launched, that would probably be what's happening. And it's not a bad thing. They'll eventually sell that product off, and you'll go back to have owning the buy box 100% of the time, per se, right? Like, we own the buy box when you do private label, versus if you're doing retail arbitrage or wholesaling, then you don't own the buy box. So yeah, and it just let them sell off their product, and you got nothing to worry about there. Fabiana asks, "Hi Rolando, for my first product to be launched, how much inventory do you recommend to start with?" I always base it off of a 3-month window. That gives you ample time to see how well your product is selling and how soon you need to resupply. So in most cases, the goal ideally is to be able to sell 10 units a day. So if we're saying 30 days, that's 300 units that's being sold monthly, and then times 3, roughly 900 units. So a safe spot, which is interesting because most suppliers are going to require a minimum order quantity of 1,000 units, at least that's like the first breakpoint price that you're going to get a good price from a supplier. So 1,000 is the minimum order quantity, and that just happens to work out in our model, right? In the way that we want to sell. We're looking to sell 10 units daily, and so that's why I say 3-month window. And then, just as I mentioned, keep an eye on it, monitor it through the inventory manager tool inside of Jungle Scout, and you'll know when you'll need to reorder. The key thing is that when it comes to inventory, don't just look at it from the time frame of how once you've ordered that it's going to ship immediately. You also need to incorporate lead time. So that's why you need to ask your supplier, okay, what's the lead time to produce this product? I've found on average lead times are around 20 days. So that means 20 days, and then the product is finally ready to be shipped. And your freight forwarder needs to get in contact with your supplier. They need to coordinate the pickup, right? And then from there, crossing the ocean if you're sending it by ship. So those are things that you need to calculate and know lead time plus ship time, plus give yourself a cushion for delays. Right now, like I said, nothing is running at 100%. Ports are closing due to COVID. You have, like I said, weather has been an issue as of recently. I know I had a product that was delayed actually just recently, last week, due to weather. So, but like I said, I plan in advance, well in advance, knowing that nothing is functioning 100%. Everything's kind of delayed. So that's why I say, get the best time is now. Unfortunately, it's too late to get your product in by, say, Black Friday. I don't foresee that happening. But there's, Amazon is constantly running and gunning. It doesn't seem like there's been a slowdown, and so that's why there's no better day than today to get started. Let's see here. Inam asks, how long does it take you to find new product ideas? And what kind of products do you prefer to sell personally? So for me, product ideas don't take as long, just because one of my favorite things to do is to see like my competition, see what else they're selling. So that's a good little hack that you'll want to take advantage of. See what else, what is it that my competitors are doing, and then kind of see like, okay, I'm gonna do a deep dive with the Jungle Scout tool. So that's one option. You can definitely go that route. So finding a product becomes a little easier over time once you have products that are doing well. I would say that, the first time there's a learning curve. It's not everything. You're learning everything. So for the first time, by the second time, you kind of have a better feel, lay of the land, and your niche. Your overall, what it is that you want to focus on. And so that's, I guess, so it definitely speeds things up. And so that's where I would say to go. And once you have a product that you've thoroughly vetted, why not go see what the competition is, your top competition, and what is it that they are selling in addition, and then just run the Chrome extension there. I'll give an example. Let me see if I can just get a reference. Like, this is just all, I'm winging it here, so I don't know how well this is going to go, but let's see. 1 second. Okay, desktop one. Should be able to see my screen now. All right. I have yoga mats up. So let's see. Let's just say that these are sponsored brands, sponsored products, sponsored. Let's just say that this is my top competition right here. The first one that appears from, I think when I typed in, the keyword was yoga mat. Just type in yoga mat. I'll walk you through the process. So this is the keyword that I'm searching with. And I know that these are all advertising. That's advertising, that's advertising, that's advertising, that's advertising, advertising. So I'm kind of staying away from those just because, like I've always taught you, that might be, that's definitely like, it could be a new seller, but I want to find the like top, players in this, right? So I know that this one here in particular has the #1 spot for yoga mat, #2 spot for yoga mat, #3 spot for yoga mat, and so on, right? So this is going to be one of my main competitors. If the product matches and it's one of these thick yoga mats and has a little, let's just hypothetically, this is my top competitor. So I could quickly come in here and just get some ideas and say, for example, I'll go under their brand, Balance From. And if, as I say, I'm just winging this, if they are, a big seller and multiple products, then I could start to see other products that they have that they're selling in here. So this is one way that I just quickly find products, and I will still do my deep dive, right? I'll still run the Chrome extension. I'll still do my homework as to how, what's the return on, like how many sales, what's the daily sales, what does that calculate to be, and what's my return going to be on this investment, and so on. So just kind of do that deep dive. But that's just a very quick and easy way to find new products. Let's see. And you're asking personally, I don't want to share that now, just because I feel that it will misguide you and will misguide everyone. I think that everyone will find their preferred field. What I would recommend is definitely, there's some that I would say stay away from. rather than tell you like, hey, do this because I do that. That that methodology is not effective. I think the most effective methodology is let me share which areas I stay away from, and so that way there, you know, everybody gets a better idea. So definitely stay away. I'm telling you what to stay away from. So I'm not checking them off. Stay away from appliances. Um, Arts and crafts might be a good one. Just as long, like we say, it's got to be something that doesn't easily break, and avoid electronics. Avoid anything that could become a nightmare for you, and get a lot of returns. That's why I avoid automotive. I avoid baby just because, and not to say that it's a bad one, but there are a lot of restrictions, and there are a lot of gated products. So under baby, you're probably not going to have good results, and you're gonna just have to. It's going to be a lot of back and forth with Amazon, to try to get documentation in and get your product eventually launched. So that's why I stay away from baby. And beauty and personal care, same problem there. Camera and photo, same problem there. Where you've got moving parts, you got components that are just going to cause more returns. Cell phones and accessories, you can possibly, but it's such a competitive field in terms of, like, let's say a case, right? Like a phone case or something like that. It's such a competitive niche. If you're just getting started and you don't know the lay of the land and you don't know how to be competitive, then I would stay away from cell phones and accessories. Clothing, shoes, and jewelry, another one that's sketchy because it's like most people, when it comes to clothing, they shop for name brand. Not everyone, but they're looking for name brands. They're looking for, like, Adidas and so on. So that's why clothing, shoes, and and jewelries, I wouldn't recommend. I also would recommend staying away from computers and accessories. Same reason as we always talk about, electronics as well. Grocery and gourmet, only because it's lucrative if you can get your product ungated. Remember, there's going to grocery and gourmet food is definitely going to be gated, because anything that that you ingest or that goes on your skin, that's why we're talking about beauty and personal care, there is going to be a much stricter requirement for that. Health and household, same, unless you could find something that's not that you ingest and so on. Home and kitchen is a good one. Like I love home and kitchen. Industrial, stay away from industrial and scientific. So remember, I'm doing the inverse just to show you which ones not to go into. I'm not checking them off because you should be doing them. Kitchen and dining, also a really good one. Musical instruments, stay away from it. Office products can be a good one. Patio, lawn, and garden, a very good one. Pet supplies, also a very good one. As long as, once again, it's not like something that the pet's going to, like, ingest, right? Stay away from software. Sports and outdoors, another good one. Tools and home improvement, that's also a very good one. Stay away from toys and games, just for the simple fact that, like, a lot of them are going to be targeting children, and like I said, they do there is stricter guidelines for that. And then video games. So the ones I've checked off are the ones that I would not work with. Just in these that we have here, there's just an infinite number of products that you could work with. It's not, you're not limiting yourself. So have fun with it and find something within those categories. So hopefully that helped them. See here. Let's see. The next question then was, what are your views about selling apparel, like selling t-shirts, for example? So I actually just went through, but yeah, I don't think it's a good model. Only because people are looking for name brand typically, or for something very distinct and unique, um, and it's a lot of times it's like seasonal and fads and just so many variations of why, like, clothing and apparel are not a niche that I'm interested in. Let's see. Fabiana asks, I launched my first product 2 or 3 months ago, but I am not reaching any sales. I launched several campaigns and coupons, not branded product. Do you recommend to go after a second product already? See, so you launched 2 or 3 months ago. My suggestion before you take take on that additional risk or that additional investment, I find it interesting. Look at, once again, run the numbers. Look at what the competition is doing. Really dissect the competition. One way to do this, and I'll share this because I think this will be helpful. So in addition to everything you've done already, I believe in modeling, right? And modeling is the most effective way of being able to have a listing that converts, because for some reason it's working, right? So just to talk about the process here. So when we started over here, the first thing a customer is going to look at, just look at it from the customer's point of view. First thing the customer is going to look at is the image. Now, is your image, does it make a statement? Does it pop? Does it, is it a good quality photo? So that's the most important thing visually. This is what's going to be the first thing that's going to attract someone, right? Is your main image. And it has to be on a white background. Fill up as much space of this empty space as you can so that it just stands out. Find the proper angle. And I'll tell you how you can determine that in a second, like of what you'll want to do. Then, don't make you see how this is nice and to the point? It's not a long, and it has ... Like it's actually, even here, another example, like it's nice and to the point. It's not misleading at least on the onset. Now, granted, of course, your product will not have reviews, but you have, as you mentioned, you have a savings, right? Make that savings anywhere from 10 to 20%. It's just going to stand out more. Like if I saw 5% here and I saw 10% here, I'm going to click on the one that has 10% discount, right? Just because of like, okay, I want to save 10%, even better, 20%, right? So run a deeply discounted coupon. That will be another lure for someone to click in. And then when you're going in, and I'm just going to pick any random one here. What I like to do is I like to go into the product details section and then look at the top 100 under yoga mats, the top 100 sellers. And this is where I really can know, who is winning in their category. I can tell that Balance From, the one that we saw, top #1 spot, is in #1 bestsellers, and so on. They're the #2 bestseller. So what I would do is, okay, if my product looked similar to this, I would have my photographer photograph it, the main page, very similar to this, right? I would give them this I'd take this image and I'd provide it to my photographer and say, hey, obviously you can't use the image, but you can model after it, right? There's nothing against modeling after, but never use their image or never use their copy. You can model off after it. Like, obviously for one, you're going to be putting in your brand name here, but you're going to try to find all the keywords that they're using and use them, and so on. And then if you notice, like their bullet points are straight to the point. There's, no emojis, and it's just, it's selling the product. But then on top of that, they have some high quality photos that kind of complement it as well. And then video. So those would be my focal points right now, is spend some time with that before you go on to the next product. See where that goes. Run some PPC so that you get on page 1, because of course right now your product is all the way towards near the end potentially, and then take it from there. And like I said, deeply discount it, and we'll see how that works out for you. Okay, we can talk next week once you've done your homework assignment. Let's see. Nam asks, have you ever used any suppliers outside of China, such as Bangladesh or Vietnam? Do you recommend suppliers other than China, and why? I have not, because I've essentially all the products that I've wanted to sell can, can come from China. Some countries, from what I understand, and other sellers that I've talked to, like do use other source from other countries. There's a lot more hoops. Obviously, China has created this whole machine, right, of how to, start from end to end, to include like Alibaba.com, and then them being able to get your product to you within a relatively quick time. And so with other countries, they don't have those supply chains, right? They don't have all that in place. And so it's just going to be a little more hoops to jump through. And the fact that, if, say, for example, we just need to spend a little more time vetting the supplier. You'll spend a little more time identifying them. And one other thing, when it comes to other countries, if there is a product that you are interested, typically it's regional, right? Like, say, for example, in Vietnam, it's going to be textiles. And other countries, there's going to be these regional things that they're really good at. And so that's what, if any advice there is, just find the products that they are really good at producing in that country, and that would be the focal point there, because then they have developed more systems to get their products across the world. But other than that, I wouldn't have any more to say. Sorry, Nam. How much was your budget for your second product, and what did you do differently to launch your second product? So when my first product launch, mind you, this was, I think, 5 years ago. I'm not mistaken, 5 years ago. It was a very, very cheap product in terms of like cost. So a lot of my investment didn't have to go into it. Now, not to say that you can't find those types of products, but they are rare. 5 years ago, though, I'm talking about 5 years ago, there's still opportunity. It's just a little more investment than what I had to do. So my first investment was like $2,500, somewhere around there, $2,500. And so then when my second product launched, was actually just a variant of that product. So I was able to take some of my earnings that I had made, and then just placed the second order, and this time in those just additional variants. And then, like, of course, just with the funds that were coming in that I was receiving, and the funds, because I had a very small budget when I first got started. I didn't have much of a budget at all. I had just failed at launching a tech startup business that me and 3 partners, and so I kind of went all in on that. And all my time, all my resources went into this concept of this tech startup. I devoted like 2 years on the project, and so as you can imagine, the next go around, I was like, what really convinced me was, and I mentioned this, I was bedridden because, so we just had dissolved the company, me and the 3 other partners, just because it was going nowhere. And then we decided and then I had hurt my back and injured my back. So I was bedridden, and I was just like, so a couple of things came to mind. I was like, okay, I definitely, I have the entrepreneurial spirit, the bug. I love it. The last time, what did I learn from it? Well, one, make sure if you are going to go in with partners, that they are equally giving as much as you are, or even more, to what the process is. Unless they're a silent partner where they're just funding it, right? That's a different story. So, but moral of the story for me was, overall, I was like, I want to find an opportunity that doesn't involve partners, period. I just want something like, I want to be a solopreneur. So what can I do? I was just in bed and had my laptop, and I was like, ways to sell online, because I knew that selling online was a thing, right? I played with like eBay at different times, selling things and stuff. So I was like, this obviously works. So, you know, ways to sell online. And I just happened to stumble across some YouTube videos by Greg, our CEO and founder. And he was walking through the whole process of selling on Amazon. And I was like, okay, that's not all that complicated. I mean, when I was building a tech startup, like that's complicated. Being able to find a product that people that's in demand and being able to sell it, that's not complicated. So that's when I just started kind of going down that route. And like I said, my second launch was a variation of the first. And then, the money was surprisingly, because the return on my investment was great. I could just reuse that profit. But like I said, times have changed a little bit. Does require a little more investment, but in the end, think of it from the perspective of any business requires investment, right? Any business, like we were trying to raise capital for the tech startup in the millions, like we needed millions to get it off the ground. So here I was pitching this idea to investors all across the United States and trying to raise capital, and we'd get some, but, we need, never hit the mark of like to be able to bring in a team that could fully devote their time to developing what we were building. Okay, so we're talking about a tech startup. Do you want to go start that off? You're going to need millions of dollars. Whereas, at selling on Amazon, you're talking about in the thousands. And so it's a solopreneur business. A lot of times, you can get your partner involved, like, your significant other involved if you want, and help you out in the early days before you start, considering building out a team. And you take it at your pace. You build it as you like it. So.